Yeah, let's go. So, welcome to Introduction to React, right? Um, so, yeah, Introduction to React, isn't it? So, I'm going to introduce you to the idea of React.js, right? And the whole concept of React.js and how to gradually build it, right? So, before I talk about React itself, right, we need to talk about, we need to talk about frameworks in JavaScript. What are frameworks itself before frameworks in JavaScript? If you look at that Notes application now, that Notes app, you will see that imagine you want to build another project. You will see that there are some things that are in that place. There are some things that are just rudimentary. That they seems like you need to repeat yourself in another project, right? Imagine you want to, like that Notes app, we are listing Notes app. You are going to write notes. Imagine if you have on Splash. In Unsplash now, we are going to be listing pictures, listing pictures like this, right? We are going to be listing pictures like this. That's Unsplash, isn't it? Now, imagine you now have another place like Vimeo, right? On Vimeo, we are listing what? Videos, right? Isn't it? So if you are listing, so I'm showing you three, uh, like we are seeing three things now. That Notes app, right? On Splash and then Vimeo. One is text, picture, video, right? Now, if you look at these three applications, you will see that there are some similarities. We are listing items. We may want to delete each of the items, right? We may want to. So, in listing items, the way we have listed items in that Notes app, right? Get element by ID, right? For each of the item, build out the template, and then pass it to the view, right? So that the view can render it, isn't it? As you are doing this, you will see that it is becoming laborious, right? If you are going to build 10 applications, you will be repeating yourself 10 times. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, right? 10 times. So a framework now comes. That is where framework now comes. Framework now say the thing, so you want to be building application. Instead of building these applications from scratch, right? We will give you a place to start from, right? We will give you some common things that we know you need, right? And then you can now build your own application on top of it. Are you following with me? Some common things that we know you need, then you can now build your own application of it on top of it, isn't it? That is the initial concept of frameworks, right? JavaScript has several frameworks, plenty of frameworks like those ones that guy was listing. So you will see React, right? React is not a framework. It's not a framework like others. The frameworks normal are Vue.js, right? AngularJS, Ember.js, right? There are plenty. Just all you have to do is JS framework for you to see how many there are, right? There are plenty. There are up to 1,000 JavaScript framework. But you don't need to concern yourself with all this JavaScript framework, right? Why? Because they are leading players. There are some top leading players of these frameworks. Like they are leading the market, and they are leading the market based on the people that are building it, the people that are in charge of it. So number one is this Angular. This Angular now, is built by Google, right? It's Google that is in charge of it. Now we have two types of Angular. There is Angular JS. Notice this. Do you see this? Do you see the JS in front of it? There is another one when you scroll down. There is another one called Angular, right? when you open this one, you see that this one they just call it Angular. There is no JS in front of this one. Look at it. Can you see? Still the same logo, but one there is JS in front of it. One there is no JS in front of it. They are the same thing. The difference is this: when this framework when it started out, it's by Google. Both of them are by Google, right? When it started out, the name of the framework was Angular JS. This one, just this one, right? That's the name of the framework, right? Now, as they were building, they now realized that they wanted to change some fundamental things in the design of this thing, right? So when they change that fundamental thing, imagine now you in your company, you're already using Angular or Angular JS, and maybe you have 20 clients and you are using this Angular JS for all of them, right? The people that are now building Angular JS now say they want to change something fundamental in their own Angular JS. You know that for you now as a developer, it means that you too, you must go and change all your 20 client application, right? Because so to avoid that issue for people, they now said they will branch out. They will do that change that they want to do to this thing, right? And they will remove the JS, right? So that people that want to continue with the old one can continue with the old one, and then people that want to start with the new one can start with the new one. Do you get? So that is why. So this old one now. So this is the old one now. It is no longer being used. It is now outdated, right? So there is nothing like Angular JS again, right? It is just old version now. This is now the latest one, Angular. It is still by Google, right? What do we use it for? We use it to build applications. You use it to build. So the idea is a framework, right? And the goal of frameworks is just to give you like a structured way to build applications across all the projects that you want to build, right? That's just what it is. It is just going to give you structure, right? Structure that when you use that structure to build, right, another person can just, who knows Angular, can use the same structure to just continue from where you stopped, or to just start interacting with you, right? So that is the basic idea. So this one was leading, this Angular, it was leading, right? Then Vue.js now came about. Somebody from that Angular team, he left Angular, right? The like Angular was being built, right? So one person now left this Angular. He left Google. He was working on Google, right? He now left Google to go and create his own framework called Vue, and the name of the person is called Evan Yu. Let me find him. So this is another framework, right? I just want you to understand that anything that Vue can do, Angular can do it. Anything that Angular can do, Vue can. It's not like as if one is better than the other. The job is just pick the one that suits you, right? And just go ahead with it. There is no one that is better than the other. Eh? In this place, there is actually no one that is. So this is for me. For me, I'll never use Angular. For me, that's me, just me, right? Because Vue in this part of the world now, if I'm looking for a job, Vue, there's a lot of Vue job, right? And there's a lot of React job. There's hardly. What you say?
So why the different ones they do the same thing?
They all do the same thing, but Google wants to have their own stuff that they will be using, that they are promoting. Angular too have their own, so they do the same thing. How they do it
It's different.
is the different thing. So, and it is the ideology that people are fighting, that all of them are fighting about. How they do it is what is different, but the end goal is the same. The end goal is to build websites or mobile application, and all of them can do it, right? How they do it is the different wala. Do you get? So for me now, it is either I learn React or I learn Vue, one of the two. That's all, right? If tomorrow Angular, there is plenty Angular job, I'll go to Angular. Do you get? So that's just for me. Now, so this view is popular for PHP people, right? Angular now, it doesn't have any popularity with anybody. This view is popular with people that are writing Laravel. Laravel, right? So Laravel is a PHP framework. You understand the idea of framework? The idea of framework is, so every language have its own framework. So this Laravel now is a PHP framework, like Vue is a JavaScript framework, right? So this one we use it to build backend stuff, right? So if you use it to build backend stuff, then this Vue will not be the front end of it, right? Unlike in JavaScript we can have backend in Node.js, right? And then do this Vue in front end, right? So I've talked about two things, Angular and Vue, right? And I've told you that either of them, they do the same thing, right? They are frameworks. Now, what is now the difference between a framework and this React? So now, Angular is by Google, Abi. This Vue is by Evan Yu, right? It's by this guy, Evan Yu, right? He's the one that is leading it, right? But he's not, he's like the leader of it, right? He's like the leader of it. Do you get? By you. Now, this React is by Facebook, right? It's by Facebook, and it is this React that we want to learn, right? It's by Facebook. So, so what is React? React is not a framework like Vue or Angular, right? What is a framework? A framework is the whole set of tools to be able to build application, right? That is what a framework is, isn't it? So in Angular now, you can take Angular, right? Install Angular, start building your application, and it will work, right? React is not like that. React is a library. Now, to understand what a library is, just think of your normal library, school library, right? In a library, what do you have? You have several books. What will you do with those books? You will pick one book, learn it, right? And combine it with the knowledge of another book to be able to achieve what you want to achieve, right? You are the one that will now say, okay, I've learned this one, I've learned this one, combine it together, achieve what you want to achieve, right? It doesn't, it's not like, so these ones, so the analogy I will use here is this. Angular is like buying a car. Enter the car, start driving, right? React is a library. It's like you have to go to Ladipo, right? And fix, you are the one to buy the part of the car, right? And then when you now buy all the part of the car finish, you now couple it together. That is where you can now drive. Can you get? So React is giving you like the parts of building web components, right? Unlike Angular that will give you everything, right? Do you get? So in React is a library. React will just offer you some things. Practically, React just allows you to build interface, right? So like now, you can build interface for web, like this, like a website now. You can have any website. Maybe you go to Monzo.
Is it the look?
Yes, the look, and that is, so if you look at the definition for user interface, React is just about user interfaces. It will give you tools, library, to build what? The look of, how the look of something will be.
No functionality.
No, the look, the functionality, it will handle all those things, right? So look at this website now. Accept. You can use React to build this thing, right? If you look at that definition of React is just interested in user interface. Your interface can be anywhere, right? It can be on the web that your interface will run. React does not concern itself with where will this interface you are building running. Nothing concern React with that one. What React is interested in is that what? Just build interface, right? When you build the interface, you are the one that will now decide. That is where the spare part stuff is coming from. You are the one that will now decide that, okay, this interface, I want it to run on the web. I want it to run on desktop. I want it to run on mobile. Are you flowing with me? So React, unlike Vue and Angular now, in Vue and Angular, when you build it, when you download Angular, what you are downloading is just, you are downloading the part where you build the interface. You are downloading also the platform where you want it to run, right? You are downloading everything at once in this Angular, in this Vue. But in React, what you are only downloading is how to build the interface. You are not downloading where will it run. So React does not concern itself. React is not about web or mobile or nothing concerning React, right? It is other people that now say, so React wants to focus on his own strength, which is building beautiful interfaces. That is the work of React, to build beautiful interfaces. Where that thing that you are building, where it will run, does not concern React. It is other people that will now say, this thing that you are building, this interface you are building, we want it to run on phone. So that is where React Native now comes in. So React Native is the second part. So this React Native now, what you are getting here is that you are combining React, which is just the interface, with the place where it will run. So you can build that interface. Then you now say, this interface, I want it to run on mobile. So what this React Native is giving you is that it is allowing that thing that you build to run on mobile, right? You can have React for the web, right? React web, right? So the React web is a render that will render it, that will put that in on the web. There's React desktop, right? That will take that in and put it on desktop, right? Do you get? Unlike if you download this Angular now, in Angular everything, or in Vue, all those things are already coupled into it. You are just want to select, I want it to go here, I want it to go there, right? React does not have that one from scratch. Are you with me? That is number one thing I want you to take away from the idea of React as a library and not a framework, right? It is giving you, so you can, but that means that it is more job for you, for the developer. Unlike if I just have Vue now and I'm starting writing Vue, I know that once I finish, it will just run automatically on the web, right? No issue for me. But now in React now, after I finish, I still have to think of the headache of how do I join it to make it run on the web, right? So so now React is the library. It's just spare parts, and it is still your job to couple all the spare parts together to form a car, right? So some people have now decided that to help the React developer, they have built framework on top of React. So they have joined all those spare parts together for you. Do you get? So they call it Nuxt, I think. Okay, Nuxt is the, what's it called? It's for Vue. Next.js. Let me find Next.js. This one is for Node.js. Okay, Next.js. You can see all of them have the same. Look at it, Next. So many stuff. Anyway, this is the one. This one is now a framework of React, where they have joined it together for you, right? This Next, right? They have joined it together so you don't have to be thinking of. So if you download this Next now, it is still React, right? But you don't have to be so once you build the interface, you are building your normal React interface, right? But you don't have to, so like in React Native, you build your interface, it will go to the phone. This Next now, you build your interface, it will go to the web. directly, so you don't have to be thinking about it by yourself. They have done the job for you of where it will go, right? That is this next. Do you get? But all this one is story. Let's now go to the idea of React Congo and try to see it out. So in React.js, I'm going to open my terminal, right? In my terminal, I'm going to go into document work Dorilo, right? So I'm having here, isn't it? So let me say intro React, right? So in this intro React, I don't think this guy is saying that. So window capture, window capture. So go away from here. Yes. Okay. So here we have this intro React, right? So I want to create a new React application, right? So to create a React application on your system, right, you need Node.js, and you already have Node.js, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click inside this place and do git bash, right? I'm going to do git bash into that place. So I'm coming, another window capture this time, yes, for that one. So in this place, right, so I'm going to do npx, right, create React app. npx is a package manager for npm. We already have npm. Once you install Node, you already have this, so you don't need to do any extra thing. This create app, it means that I want to create a new React app, right? That is the command to create a new React app. So then I will now give it the name of the app, right? So the name of the app is Facebook clone. We want to build a clone of Facebook, so I'm going to press enter. So when I press enter now, what it will do is it will go to this website. It will go to this website. It will go to this website, npm, right?
I want to just record your screen.
What do you say?
I wanted to just record your screen.
What do I have on my screen? Let me see. Okay, let me just close this. Okay, I wanted to do some work after. What else? What else do I have there? I don't have anything there. Okay, let me try to record the screen now. So window capture, right? Window, not window capture, display capture. So I'm going to close this, open display capture to open display capture. Okay, so we can continue. So here it is going to come to this place and try to download everything that we have here. So currently it is coming to this npm, and it will try to download from here and put it in that place, right? So if you track here, you'll be seeing it inside this place. Do you see it is generating this stuff? So it will take a time, it will take a couple of minutes, right, to generate everything. As it is generating it, so to create a new React application, it is just what, after you have installed Node, you just go to your folder, you say npx create React app, then the name of your application, right? So it will generate. It can take a while, right? But once it's generated, you will see it. So that is for this. So while we have this, let me also show you this. So start learning, right? Let's set up Next.js. So this one is another one entirely, right? This one is another. So you can see here, their own example is using what? Create next app based on the create React app approach, right? And then the name of the application is what? Next.js blog. This one, they want to create a blog. And so I'm going to copy this, right? This one is almost done, right? So I'm going to come here as a second project. Can you see it's almost done? So as a second project, in this place, I'm going to do naming folder blog clone. This other one is blog clone, right? That's the second project. So inside this second project, no, let me not do blog clone. No. Let me delete it so that it will be generated for me. So inside here, I will do bash. As a second project, I'm going to paste that thing I copy from that place, right? Create next app. So this one, I will call it blog. Let's just call it blog. We should just call it blog. Like the name of the app will be called blog, right? So I'm going to press. So this one has finished. Our first one has finished. This is the second one that I want to generate now. So let's see what has it generated in this Facebook clone, right? What are the things that are generated, right?
Interface.
Yeah. So first of all, before I see what it has generated, this is the place where we generated it, Abi.
Yeah.
So to start our stuff that has been generated, we just say npm start, right? What is that? Okay, we need to enter. So you know the name of our application is Facebook clone, so we need to enter into Facebook clone, right? Anything gibberish, you are following? Okay, so inside Facebook clone now, I want to start it so that I can see what has been generated for me. So I will do npm start, right? So you can see it will start up. It will take a small time. So after it has downloaded, right, it is starting up. It is going to start up. Can you see starting the development server? So it is opening my browser. It is opening my browser, and then after it opens my browser, it will show. Yeah, this is a freshly baked React.js application, right? There is nothing special to it. There is nothing here. This thing is an image, right? And they are rotating it. This is ordinary text, and this is and this is a link, right? If you look at the URL, you see the URL says what? Localhost 3000, right? And if you look at here, it is saying that it will open on what? On localhost 3000. If you are on the same network now, you can open this thing on your own web browser here. So you can just type in 192.168.2 and it will open. Yeah, try it. 192.168.2.177 of port 3000. Yeah, press enter. So you see, so anybody that is on this our same network, it will load, right? Do you get? So now it means that anything I'm doing here, once I am making the changes and it is working on my system, it will work on your own system too, right? And any other person that connect to, it will work. Are you with me? You're flowing?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we have this, right? What exactly is giving us this website? This is a simple website. There's nothing special about this. Background is black, text, picture, image, right? And link. But what is inside this thing? What are these files? Right? What are each of these files? So I'm going to use VS Code, right? To be able to play with it. So I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to come back here. So here, I'm going to drag it, right? So that I can open it here. So the second thing I'm generating as finished, right? Can you see it? The second one has generated. That next, right? It has generated. So, but let's leave it for now. You can see this. So I want you to focus on this left hand side. So I'm going to make it big. on the left hand side, what are these things that we have here? Number one thing that you want to know is this package.json file, right? The package.json file, what is it? The job of this package.json file, so let me do command T like this, right? Let me save it inside here. I'm going to call it guide.txt, right? The job of this package.json file, right? So package.json file, the job is to describe the application, the needs of the application. For this application to work, what does it need, right? That is the job of this package.json file. Describe the needs of the application, right? So when I say need, like, what are the essential things for a car to work? It needs fuel, right? It needs radiator, it needs engine, right? You must list out it will. So this package.json file will list out everything to the smallest, minutest detail, right, that this application needs for it to work. Do you flow? So that is, so what you will now see here is just object, normal JavaScript object. I want you to know as I'm going forward that all this React, Vue, Angular, anything is just our normal JavaScript. All those things that we have been learning in JavaScript, there is nothing. It's just that JavaScript again that we are using here, right? Just put that as you are looking at it, just know that it is just application of those JavaScript stuff. It is still JavaScript that we are writing. Do you get? So here it is describing all the things needed for this application to work, right? So in the name of the application is what? Facebook clone, right? And then the version is this. Is it private? That means, is it publicly available to anybody? No. So it is private, Abby. So it is private. What are the dependencies? Dependency. So here you will see two types of dependency. There is dev dependency, right? And there is normal dependency. So here we have not seen dev dependency yet, right? Dependency is all the things this application need to work. So it needs React, right? So what is this React 99? It means that the thing went to this place, npm. It went to npm, Abby. It went to npm and found React. So when you see anything listed here, it means it has come to this place. You know, it came to this place earlier. It has come to this place and it has downloaded this package called React into your system. So this is, when you see React in that place, this is what it is referring to, right? Then after, it is downloading React DOM. Now, you remember that time I told you that React is a UI library, normal React. So you just build your interface, right? But where will it render? Should it go to mobile? Should it go to web, right? You are still the one to decide it, right? Do you get that?
Yeah.
Unlike, that is why we are now showing you that next, right? That in that next they have put everything together for you, isn't it? So this React DOM. So when you are finished building, so this React here, the job is what? To build your interface. React DOM is now to use this React. What is DOM?
Object.
Our DOM object that we are using Notes app, right? So the DOM, this number 10, is the one that will take whatever you use, to whatever interface you build with number 9, it will build it out and put it into your DOM. So do you see the job of that number 10 now? So the number 10, so React itself is you will build the interface, right? So when you finish building the interface, it is this number 10 that will take it and put it on the DOM on your website, that it will make it work on the DOM. Do you get? So if you are looking for what React DOM is, you can just come here and put React DOM like this. So when you put it here, you see this is the React DOM stuff here, right? You will see here, it says what? This package serves as the entry point to the DOM and server renders for React, right? It is intended to be paired with the generic React package, which is shipped as React in npm, right? So you can see that so this one is the one that will give React access to the DOM. React does not know where it will go, right? If assuming I don't want to put React in the DOM, I want to put it on the mobile, I wouldn't have installed this one. It wouldn't have installed this one. It will install React Native, right? So instead of putting DOM there, it would have installed React what? Native. So in the React Native, it is this one that will make it go to the mobile, right? So let's continue. So all these other stuffs are here to help those two work faster, right? Now, so you see all this stuff now. I told you they are going. It is going to download to your system. So where in your system are they being kept? So the node.json file, you already know the job of this node.json package.json file right now, Abi, to describe the needs of the application. All the packages, React DOM, all those packages that you are seeing here, they are going to be downloaded and stored inside the node_modules folder. Node_modules folder, right? It is this folder. It is going to hold all the packages downloaded from npm. So when this is the node.modules folder now, when you open it, what you will see is what? All the packages that have been downloaded. You can see that here now. How many packages are here? Maybe like how many? 6 or 7, right? But these packages have what? Dependency, right? So our project now, we need 6 things, right? But these 6 things need 6 of their own, or maybe 7, or maybe 8. Like now, let's go back. Look at this one. Is not what we need. Look at that one that we used that time. That React DOM, Abi. This is the React DOM. How many dependencies does it have?
3 dependencies.
3 dependencies. How many people are depending on it?
54,000.
Can you say 54,000? Other packages need this one for them to work, right? But this particular one needs only 3 things. That means when you install this one, you must install these 3 other things, right? So these 3 other things are what? Loose verify scheduler. This scheduler now, let's look at. If you open scheduler needs 2. So you can see why we now have so many things inside our node package folder. So that means scheduler will be installed, and scheduler 2 will install 2 other things, and then those 2 other things may also need their own 2 other things. This loose MV5, this one needs one thing. It needs JS tokens, and then he has all this. This one does not have any dependency, correct, right? So do you see why we have so many items? If you remember when we installed this thing, right? If you look at up here, how many? So the total packages that were installed is what? 149. Even though it is only 6 that we directly need, those 6 have other packages that they depend on that now make up to 149. Do you get? So that is why. So you have no business in this node modules folder, right? It is not your business. You will never be going there. You have nothing to do there, right? Just leave it alone. Don't delete anything there. Leave it alone like that. Public folder. What is the public folder? We use the public folder. The public folder. It is used to hold things that you want the public to see. Static files. We call it static files. Things that you want the public to see. Things that will not change. Will not change throughout the life of the application. For example, logo of the website. Will the logo change? It is static, right? The CSS on your website, does it change? When you create your CSS now, once, this is that CSS. Except you want to update the website. If you are not updating the website, the CSS will not change, Abi. So all those things that once you put it on the website, they don't change. They don't need to change. They will go into the public folder. So example is the logo. So this is that picture that you are seeing. This one that is rolling here. This is it. Right? So they have 2 versions of it, the big one and small one. right? So the big one, the small one is the one that is here. That is called favicon. This is the big one that is here, right? Do you get? And then, so you are seeing all this. You will see something, index.html, right? I am going to come back to that one. Now, so I've told you what the guide is, Abby. It will contain files that will not change throughout the life cycle of the program, right? Static files that will not change throughout the file, right? Throughout the life of the project, isn't it? Okay, so you as a programmer, this is where you are going to spend most of your time, inside the source folder, src. This is where, in a React project, this is where you are going to be spending most of your time. We call it the source folder, right? Source folder. That is where what? That is where most of the code is. Now, what is React? Let's go back again. What is React? What is React?
For UI.
This is for building UI. That is all. Just put that at the back of your head. React is for building UI. It cannot do any other thing. It is other people that now decide that React will be doing other things. Fundamentally, the only job of React is what?
Building interface.
To build UI. You want to build a website. You want to make the website look beautiful. That is the job of React. Right? The reason why React is here is because to do these things, right? React has some approaches. It's you know I told you frameworks or libraries, they have like standard that they want you to follow, right? It is those standards that make you React stand out, right? So those things that make React stand out, I call them philosophy. Philosophy. How do you spell philosophy?
PHI.
Is it PHI? Philosophy. Like this. Okay, something like that. Let's just hold it like this. The idea is, how does React want you to be building website? That is what I mean. How does React want you to build website, right? How does React want you to build website? React wants you to build website. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah, let's go. So, how does React want us to be building website? I've introduced some of these files, Abby, from this one now. So, where you'll be dealing with is this source folder. You'll not be dealing with any other thing again, right? Now, I want to break down React for you, right? So that you understand how React will work. So let's open that source folder. So you see some of the things inside here, right? I want you to understand what are the things that we need that we have been using to build website. What are the things that we have been using to build website? Finish. HTML, CSS, and what? JavaScript. If you go to anywhere, these are the 3 things. You cannot pass these 3 things that you will use to build website, right? The only difference is now, how do we build it? How do we use it, right? But what is the job of HTML?
The look.
It will give us the structure of the site.
Yeah.
The CSS will give us the styling, and the JavaScript will give us what? the functionality, right? To make it move, to make us listen to button, to make us do this thing, right? These thing, these three things, and the way they are like this, is the way they are like this, is the way they are still like that in Java, in React, right? So I'm trying to tell you that as you are looking at this thing, just focus on this one and use your knowledge of that, so that when you are flowing through React, you see that nothing is special, right? Just come back, just be coming back to the basics of this. Now, look at this. In our notes app, right? We have HTML, isn't it? Then we have a file for CSS, isn't it? Then we have a file for JavaScript, isn't it? In React, we still have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But but here, JavaScript is the foundation. In Note app, you have HTML. Inside that HTML, at the top, you put your CSS, abi? At the bottom, you put your JavaScript, right? So it means that in our Note app, in normal application, the HTML is the foundation, right? Is the foundation. Other things will join and come and support the HTML, isn't it? In React, the JS is the foundation. What that means is that it is JS file, right? Then the HTML will come inside the JS. Then the CSS will come inside the JS, right? That is number one difference, right? So instead of having HTML, then you will link, then you use the link tag, right? Relationship style sheet to put your CSS. Then you put your script tag inside your JavaScript, inside your HTML file. Here, it is the other way. You will have primarily a JS file. So in React, number one thing, you will not see what's it called? You will not be writing HTML. You are writing JavaScript, right? You are writing JavaScript. But you know that it is impossible from line 10. It is impossible for us to build a website without HTML, right? So that is why in public folder, do you see this index.html? This is the only HTML file that we have on our website, that we have in React. Only this one is your what? It's the only HTML file that you will ever have in React, and it is inside where? Public. Why? So what do we put inside public? Something that will not change, right? So you see that website that you are seeing, this one that you are seeing here, that is on what? Localhost 3000. It is this index.html. Now I want you to carefully look at this as I'm going to show you, right? It is that what? It is that index.html inside the public, abi? Now all this one is familiar to you, right? Until, so you can see title is what? React. Here too, title is what? React. Now this is the magic is coming in line 31. This is a normal ordinary HTML file. The magic is coming in line what? 31. In line at 31, what do you see? You see a normal div with an ID of root, abi? And that is all, right? It is in this line 31. So let me put another div here now with an ID of app, right? You know, I save it here, so it will load here now, you know. So now it is this place here. So here, line 31. So you remember in our Note app, right? What are we doing? We will give a div, right, with an ID. We go into the HTML. we pick that ID, and then we can now put items inside that thing, right? That is exactly what React 2 is doing, right? So in this whole HTML here, right, React is not in everything. React is just inside this line 31, only the div inside this line 31. When I remove line 31 now, ma'am, I've removed it, Abby. When I save, you will see that there is nothing inside that place again. Right? You see that there is nothing inside this place again. Right? Why? Because it is only that one that has been what? Targeted. Right? So I want you to, the reason why, so what I am saying in essence is that React is not in the entire application. It is only on this div. You see that div on line 32. It is not React. It is just normal what? HTML, normal ordinary div. And this line 31 now, it is not even, it's just ID root, right? It does not even, there is nothing that says it is React yet, right? So what I am saying here is that this one here is where we are inserting React. React is not in the entire application, yeah? It is just inside this div 31 alone. This one, this second div now, it is not React. It is just what? Ordinary HTML. So I can put here now, I can put Toby here. When I put Toby there, and I come back here, at the end, you see Toby here, right? This one that has this white background here, I'm coming on. This one that one that has the white background here, anything that you see that is white background, as you are seeing it here, it is not React. It is not. You don't even. Let's even stop with the React first, right? We have two divs, one black background, right, and one what? White background. That's what we have currently, Abby, isn't it? Okay. So you see the content of 32 directly. Where is now this root? Where is it coming from? So let's go into source. So this index.html, the same way we did in our Note app, index HTML, what? Index.js, Abby, is inside the index.js. I want you to look at line 11. Document or what? Get element by ID of which one? Of that root. Right? So this is where they are selecting their root, this root. Right? So once they select the root, what did they do? They are injecting this thing into it. So, when we do get element by ID, what do we now do? We can now start putting items inside it, right? So this is where, so what I am saying essentially is that you cannot, in essence, if you want to build any website, right, you must have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In React does not want to be using HTML, but so to start out, they will have just one HTML, right? After that one, JavaScript will now take over. Do you get? Unlike our own, where we have 3 HTML, 3 JavaScript, Abby, they have just one HTML, and then JavaScript will now be the remaining thing. So do you see where we are coming from? This is the HTML, and it has the corresponding index.js, right? So it is this one, this line 11, that now took what? That now collected that root. So every other thing here, I will now start explaining to you small. Right? So you still want to understand this thing, Abby? How is it coming? I want to tell you that this thing is still normal HTML. So what is being injected? Look at line 9. They are injecting what? App. So let's go and open that app. So this is it. Look at line 6 to line 21. You should be familiar with it. Div, header, image, right? Paragraph, anchor. So look at now. Do you see Learn React? Is a link, right? Learn React. That is where it is coming from, right? So it means that index.html is selecting this document.getElement by root and inserting this app, right? And this is that app. This is app, right? And in the app, this is what they are putting inside, right? So I'm going to explain this thing to you. But have you seen here now that it is just ordinary HTML? You have seen it. Okay. And this is the CSS of it. So what I am showing you here, let's go back to guide. In normal vanilla JavaScript, HTML is the foundation. In React, JS is the foundation, such that inside JS you will have CSS and you have HTML. Unlike the other one where inside HTML you will have JS and then you now have the CSS, right? Here, the JavaScript is the foundation. The HTML and the CSS will now be inside the JavaScript, right? Now, that JavaScript that I say is the foundation, this is what it will look like. App.js, right? So this thing that you're looking at is a typical, this is where React starts from, right? So let me show you. This is the CSS. So this is app.js and this is the CSS. Number one thing you want to notice is, you will notice now, this is the color. App header, color. So if I change this color now, let me pick green, Abby. Is that green? Let me pick green, right? When I save now, do you see now we have green? So you can see that the styling is coming from this app.css. You agree with me now, Abby? No wala, okay. And then this app link, this link that is looking like blue here. So I can change it to, instead of here, let me make it red. So when I save it now, can you see it is now red? You agree with me that it is red, right? So that you agree with me that the CSS is attached. You know, this is a JS file, right? So you agree with me that the CSS line 2 is attached to the JavaScript. Now, let me go back here. What you are seeing in this place, editor, 2 columns, right? This is app. Let me remove this one here. Right? Sorry. What is it? I'm putting it side by side so that you can see it better. No. Come up here. Yeah. So what I am saying is this. We have HTML is the foundation. So forget about HTML as the foundation. Now we are now focusing on React, right? In React, JavaScript is the foundation, CSS and HTML. And this is what you will see. So you are going to write your CSS normal, nothing changes, right? Nothing. Our normal CSS is our normal CSS, right? The focus is on the JS and the HTML, right? Because I have told you that in React, you will not be creating HTML file, but you must still create your own HTML, right? So because we are not creating HTML file, what are we now going to be creating? So this is what I want you to see. In React, this is what we have. We have a JS file, right? JS file, right? Or, so we can call it JS file or you call it component. JS file. Now, what is a component or what is a JS file? A component will contain JavaScript. It is primarily JavaScript. It is a JavaScript function. A component is a JavaScript function. You know what JavaScript function is? Function addition, function subtraction. That function that you are using, add event listener, right? Do you know what it is? Yeah, so a component is a JavaScript function. Look at here. Function app. Do you see it's a JavaScript function? It will return something, right? So I want you to understand, I can create function addition, right? That will take 2 parameters, a comma b, right? And it will what? Return a plus b, right? This and this. I just want you to see that a component is what? is a JavaScript function. Do you see the two?
Yeah.
Now, what makes it special? It does what it returns. What does this addition return?
A plus B.
A plus B, which is data type what? What is that data type? Is number.
No, it's not.
A plus B. A must be a number now.
You're not giving it anybody yet.
I'm not returning yet, but A must be a number, B must be a number. So A plus B must return number. So a component cannot return number. What makes it a component is that it will return is a JavaScript function that will return. What will it return? It will return UI. It is this, so it is will return. What I mean is that it will return HTML plus CSS. That's what I mean by. So it is a JavaScript function, but it is returning what? UI. It is this JavaScript function that you are going to use to design your interface, your website. So I want you to focus here. Look at here. We have a function, right? Normal JavaScript function. Can you see inside it? It is returning something. And what is it returning? HTML. And the HTML has some styling. It is returning. It is utilizing the CSS, right? That is. If you don't understand anything about React, I just want you to understand this. That the fundamental of React is that it is JavaScript, and it is your normal JavaScript function. And your normal JavaScript function can take parameters. So this one too. This one is not yet taking parameter. Line 4. It is not yet taking parameter, right? But it can take parameter, and we'll still look at where it will take parameter, right? Now you can design. So inside here is where you can now write any of your JavaScript, any of your HTML, right? So can you? So here, this is this one here, right? So I am going to. So do you get the idea of what a component is?
Yeah.
A component is a JavaScript function that takes HTML, that will return HTML, that will return the UI, the thing that you are trying to build, the interface you are trying to design, right? So why are we doing it like this? Why did they design React like this, that it should be going through this process? They are designing it like this because they want to React, because in the way they design React, React has been designed with three philosophies in mind. When they designed React, they want React to be declarative. So you will see it here when you go to the React website. You will see the three ideas of React here, right? These are the three things that promote the philosophy behind React, right? And we will go deep dive into it. These are the standard that I was talking about, that when you are looking at a function, at a React component, React project, once you follow these three standards, you can write your own project. Another person can pick up the project too, and they will be able to follow up, right? It makes you what? A standard. We are following standard, web standard, right? So what is declarative? The opposite of declarative is what? Imperative. Imperative. So I want you to see something. Imperative, right? Let's look at the meaning of the opposite of declarative is what? Declarative, right? I want you to see. Imperative here, right, is implying something that is important, right? But in programming terms, imperative programming, it means you are doing something manually. You are doing it manually. And what I mean by manually is that Note app. We are doing it manually. So let me give you an example now. In React wants us to be declarative instead of what?
Imperative.
Imperative. So I am going to show you example, right? Look at now. Let me clear this place. I'm going to create a for loop, right? Let A to be a for loop. Countries, let's countries to be a for loop, right? I'm going to put China, Russia, England, Ireland, Iceland, Macau, Singapore. Let's stop here, right? You remember we can filter this thing, right? We can reduce it. We can do a couple of things to it. Now, I want to do something. I want to add letter, like I want to add just number 2 to each of these items. So I want to do so I want to have let countries 2, right, to be equals to an empty array like this, right? Empty array, just empty array. Okay, so I want to do for, I'm not doing any magic. If I'm doing magic, talk to me. Let I equals to 0, right? I should be less than countries dot length, isn't it? I plus plus, right? We are looping through the array, right? So what I am taking is I want to take countries 2, right? That's a new one I created. I want to push into it the old one, countries, the old one, right? Of I, countries of I, concatenate 2, right? That means the string, whatever the string is, I'm concatenating it with 2 and I'm pushing it into that place. So that if you look at countries 2 now, do you see that at the end of it, you are seeing 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. This is what is called imperative. You are disturbing yourself unnecessarily. React does not want you to be doing what? Imperative stuff like this. React wants you to utilize the power of programming. And that is what leads us to what? Declarative. Right? Declarative. React wants us to utilize, if JavaScript can do that thing and do it better and do it faster, if there's a JavaScript function to do that thing for you, why are you doing it? Why are you disturbing yourself? Another example. We want to do 2 raised to power 10. What did I say? 2 raised to power 10. So you can say 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that's 4, times 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Abi? This is what? Imperative. You are what? You are disturbing yourself. You are wasting your time. React says that we should not be doing something like this, right? If there is something in JavaScript that can do it faster, that can do it better, use that thing. Don't do what? Don't be wasting your time. That is what? Imperative. So how do we now do declarative? For this second option now, math.pow 2, 10, which is faster? Match.pow 2, 10 is faster, abi? Straightforward. Utilize the power in this is what? Declarative. What React is saying is what? Utilize the power of JavaScript. If there is a way to do it faster, there's a way to do it better, do that way. Right? That is what React is saying. For the first one, I am going to do countries.map. Take each of the item inside it, loop through it, and then do the item plus 2. One line. Instead of what? Instead of all this long thing. Right? These two is what they are referring to here as what? Declarative. React makes it painless to create UIs. Design simple UIs for each state in your application. Declarative views make your code more predictable and easier to what? Debug. React wants you to do what? Not stress yourself. But you know that this, when you are trying to do it, this is probably the first way you are going to think, right? So you must calm down and understand the power of React. So that is what React is saying. Calm down, understand what I have to offer you, and use it. That is what is implied by what? Declarative. That is the number one philosophy of React. Calm down and utilize the power I have to give you. If you utilize it, it will be faster. Do you get? The second thing is what? React is saying you should design your interfaces using what? Components. And what is component? I've already told you what a component is. A component is the simplest way. A component is a JavaScript function, right, that will return your UI for you, your interface for you, right? It will return your HTML and your CSS for you. That is what? A component, right? React wants you to be writing component. React doesn't want you to write big component. Once your component has reached 1000 line, you have done rubbish, right? React wants is that the idea of component is that you should delegate. Keep delegating, right? Focus. Let one component do one thing. Focus. Delegate. Once you have two things to do, that's two components like that. Then you can now combine the two components together to do that thing that you want to do, right? One thing, one component, right? So that is what React wants you to do. React wants you to focus. That's the job of what? Component. Focus, right? As you are building, you want to focus, right? And once you can build, you can use that component in 1000 projects. Like I was showing you on Splash, Vimeo, and then Notes app. Once you build your component for Notes app, you can reuse it on Splash. You can reuse it in Vimeo. Anywhere you want to reuse it again, you can reuse it. That is what they are saying here. So once it is able to focus, it is easier to reuse. Do you get it? So that is, these three ideas is what React wants us to focus on, right? And this is where we are going. React has many philosophy, right? But declarative, component based, write anywhere, right? Write once, read anywhere, produce anywhere, render anywhere. That is pretty much the fundamentals of React. But we are saying story too much. Here we should go and write. Let's build interface now. So let's go. So we have seen some philosophies of React here. So view, I'm going to turn this back to.
How does this one help you? How does this one help you?
Which one?
Downloaded this Facebook component.
Which Facebook component?
Oh, what's this app I downloaded?
Which app? This.
Facebook now.
I didn't download. This is the React now. It is this one that it is from here that we are going to be building our application.
But you still type a lot of code.
Yes, we still type a lot of code.
So what's the purpose
of all these things? This is the foundation. This is, I told you that you need React, right? And then you need a place to render it. React will give you the styling, right? If you don't have all this, we cannot write React. It will not understand that we are writing React. You just think it's normal JavaScript, right? That is the job of all. That is why we need all these things. If we didn't create it, if this thing was not generated, it will just think like it is normal JavaScript. It will not understand that it is React. So that is why we need this stuff. So do you understand the play now? You understand the play?
Yeah.
In the guide, in the guide, I've shown you that we start from index.html, right? The index.html has root, right? And that root is being connected to by index.js, right? And index.js is being connected, is the one that is connecting that root to app.js, right? So it means that we are currently in app.js, right? So if you look at your app.js now, you should be able to get all this stuff, right? What are you getting now? You are getting your div, right? Yeah. So in our div guide here, this is the structure of how we are, right? So you have no business with these two. Nothing concern you. Don't go here. Sorry. Don't go here, right? Your business going forward, start from here, right? You have no business with index.js or index.html again. Don't go and touch it. Your business start from where? App.js, right? Now, if your business starts from app.js, let's now see. Inside app.js, you know I told you that what? This is the fundamental. A component. So this app.js is what? Is a component, right? And what is a component? A component is a normal JavaScript function. It's a normal JavaScript function that will return the UI, right? So let's create our own component. So this is a source, Abby. This is our own source here. So this is inside source. You know I told you all the things that you'll be writing will be inside source, Abby. So I'm going to create a component now. I'm going to call the component toby.js, normal JavaScript file, right? If you have toby.js, you must have what? toby.css, right? So Toby is now what? Is now a JavaScript component. But it is not yet a JavaScript. We want to put it here. It is just currently it is what? An ordinary JavaScript file. So first thing I want to do is what? I want to import CSS into Toby, right? So what I'm going to put, I'm going to import. So I'm going to import slash Toby, okay, Toby CSS, right? What am I doing here? I'm saying that inside my JavaScript, I want to import Toby CSS, right? That's what I'm doing, isn't it? The same way here, inside our JavaScript, they are importing what? App CSS, right? Now, create your JavaScript function JavaScript. The name of the function is Toby, right? It's an ordinary function. It's an ordinary JavaScript function. No wala, Abi? Now, this function will turn to component now. Return. What will it return? What will it return? It will return UI inside this place. It is this thing that we want to write here that will now make it turn into a component. So what do we want to write here? HTML. I want to put, so the first rule of here, so the thing that we write here, I'm calling it HTML because it is ordinary HTML, right? But it is entirely not ordinary HTML because of some things I will show you now, right? So because it is HTML, I want you to understand that it is HTML, right? But because of some funny things that start to happen, right? Yeah, it is now some little changes have been made to it, right? So instead of calling it HTML now, so in React, instead of writing HTML, we write what is called, we call it JSX. We call it what? JSX. What I'm saying is JSX is still your normal what? HTML. No. It's not JavaScript. It's your normal HTML with little changes. JSX is your normal, is your normal JavaScript, right? With some little changes.
Normal HTML.
Normal HTML, I mean. With some little changes, right? Do you get? It's just some little changes, and you will, when I show you now, you will understand why those changes exist. So when you are writing JSX, what they want is that number one thing, you must have one thing as root. You cannot put like this. You cannot say h1, right? Then under it you say no. You cannot say h1, then you say p there, then you say, you see it's already putting red line, right? They want it that everything should be inside one thing. Like now you can put div, right? Then all other things will be inside that div. You are okay like that. Or you can put section, or you can call it section. Anything shall make sure that all the other things are inside that one thing. Do you get? So once you put it inside that one thing, you are okay. So you can now start. This thing is HTML, Abi. You are following me? So here I can put Toby is writing the first component, right? This is supposed to be a long content about anything, right? So this is a component, right? This component that we have written here, you have written it. This is pretty much what a component is. What is a component? A JavaScript function that will return UI. What is it returning? UI, and the UI here is HTML, right? But why did we say we should not call it HTML and call it JSX? I'm coming. So before I go to show you why we are calling it JSX, you know this is Toby now. We have created it, right? And now that we have created it, it's a UI, meaning that what? It should show in your browser, right? As we have written it like this thing is supposed to show in your browser, right? It should show in your browser. So for it to show in your browser, currently it cannot be found. Nobody can find it. We have just written it here. Another file like this app.js does not know that you have a file called Toby. So you are the one that you will tell other files that I am here, I am available, come and start using me, right? So how do you do it? You do it by saying at the end here you say export you make it public. You say export default. You put default. I'll tell you the meaning of that default. Export is that you are announcing yourself, you are broadcasting yourself to other components that come and utilize me. You know, in a football team, you are playing number 3. You can just be there. Nobody will know, right? But when you start moving around, then they can pass to you, right? So here, that is exactly the same thing. So you can, if you don't put this, so if you are here now, you are available, right? But nobody is passing to you. Nobody is utilizing you. You are just there. So now you want to broadcast yourself. Export default. I'll tell you the meaning of that default shortly. Toby, right? So what is Toby? We are saying that I am exporting Toby. I'm making Toby public so that other people, other components can see me and utilize me, right? So in seeing me and utilizing me, so now app can now see Toby, right? So app will now say import the name of what? The name is Toby, Abi. The thing I put here, import this thing from the file. So import the component. So like what I'm saying, import component from file. That's how we put it. Import component from file. That's what we are saying, right? Import component. The name of the component is what? Toby. From what is the name of our file? Toby. Small letter. Toby. The name of our file is Toby. So I'm going to put it like this. /Toby. Import component from file. That is what I'm doing, right? What you say?
Is it going to work?
The reason why it is blurred currently is because I have not used it. So when I now come here now, in this place, right? Under this place, look at line 8, Abi. I'm going to put it on line 9 like that, Abi. I'll just call Toby. The name of is capital letter, Abi. Toby. Look at. Can you see? Let me save now. When I save, you will see at the top there, at the top here, you see it. Toby is writing. Can you see it's the UI? It's normal HTML. Exactly what we wrote inside that place that is showing. Toby is this. This is supposed to be this, right? So this component, that means this is a component. This one is a component. Can you see how we have created a component now? Do you see it? So let me now calmly explain to you. So the idea is, the reason why I put default here is because in one component you can have many functions. You know, this is one function like this. I can decide that I want to have another function called function Amuson. Function, what's the name of the Nigerian president? Function Buhari, right? Another function like this, isn't it? So let me just copy this one instead of writing it again, right? So here I will say Buhari is writing the second component, right? This is supposed to be a short content, right? I'm coming on. There is error. The error is here. So let me remove this thing, right? Isn't it? Now it will load now. So I've saved it, right? So when I save it now, you can see this is Toby and this is Buhari, right? Now the reason why I put this default is to say that I only want to make only Toby to be public. You know, Buhari now is not public. Nobody can say Buhari. But if I want Toby and Buhari to be public, that is when I will now remove that default. I will now put it inside quote like this. I'll put export Toby and Buhari, right? So the default is saying that we have only one thing that we are exporting, right? That is the meaning of that default. So let me remove this now. So I can say export default Toby, right? Meaning that it is only Toby I want to export. But when I want to export more than one thing, I will remove that default and put it inside curly braces, right? Now we have what? Export Toby and what? Buhari. So inside this place, what am I importing? Only Toby. But what am I exporting? Toby and Buhari, right? So you will notice now, so here it is no longer default, right? Because it is no longer default. So because I have wrapped this one in curly braces, I must wrap this one too. If it is default, it doesn't need curly braces, right? But once I put it inside curly braces, here too I must put it inside curly braces, right? So here I am calling what? Toby only, right? But in that place, here I also have the opportunity to call Buhari because I have exported Buhari. So I can decide that it is only Toby I want to call, right? I can decide that it is Toby and Buhari I want to call together, right? So I want you to notice it. I want you to be careful. Look at here. At the top here, can you see what is now happening here? So you should be able to read what is happening here. Import React from what? So it means that this one is default. This one is default, right? So I don't want you to be afraid as you are looking at it. So do you see here? So here, it means that what? I am calling Toby and what? Buhari. Can you see that Buhari is now on blurry? So let me call Buhari. So under this div, right? So below it, I'll put Buhari, right? Buhari. Let me save that. So when we come back here, at the bottom here, do you see? Buhari is writing the second component. This is supposed to be a short content about anything, right? So that means, so here, I can decide I want to remove Toby and leave Buhari. This one, line 9 will start complaining. Why? Because I'm no longer calling Toby. So this line 9 does not reference anything again, right? So if I save it now, we are going to run into error because there is no longer any Toby in that file, right? So I have to remove this one. When I remove it, it is going to come back, right? So, or I should just, instead of removing it, so this is how to, when you create a component, you must be able to pass the component around. If you look at here, can you see this app is also being exported as what? Default. In index, in index. It is because app is exporting itself as default, that is why index is able to import it. Do you get? So that is how we are able to pass file from one place to another in a component. Do you get? Do you flow? Are you sure? Okay. So now that we have this file being passed around the component one after the other, it means that inside Toby we can do anything we want to do here. I can put an image. It's like it's your normal Java, it's your normal HTML. You know, I told you it's your normal HTML with what? With small changes, right? So I'm going to show you the number one change now. Before I show you the number one change, let me first of all put source, right? When I put source, let me find image, Abby. Let's find some images online. So I'm going to go to Unsplash and find one image. Unsplash images are very large, you know. Internet has gone. So what do we do? Okay, internet has gone. Hello. Hi. I'm coming. Okay. So I'm going to pick a picture from here. Let's say this one here. Where did I use this picture recently? So I'm going to copy this. Let me say share. Okay, I'm going to copy the URL here. So I'm going to come to here, put it inside here, right? And save it, isn't it? So when I save it, it will not work currently. It is going to throw error. Yeah, the picture that we just collected. It is not going to work. Source file, image request for this. Let me be sure of something. I'm coming. When we put it here. Okay, that's not what I want, Joe. Copy image address, copy image link. This is what I want, not that one. It is linking back to that one, is linking back to. So currently it will not still work, right? Because it requires. So let's find it here. So this is our local host, right? And this is it. You can see the image here, right? So normally in React, when you are using an image, when you are working with an image, we need to have an attribute, right, called alt. The alt attribute, so always put it, don't forget, when you are working with images, always put alt. Alt is for accessibility. So for screen readers, you know what a screen reader is?
For blind people.
Yeah, for blind people essentially, or for visually impaired people. So in case they cannot see the image, they'll be able to, you can just describe what the image will be. So this image is a mother and two children, something like that. So you say a mother and two children. So you can use that to describe it. So you can see we have our image here, right? Now, the reason why, one reason why this thing that we are writing here is that we don't call it HTML, we call it JSX, is because of something like this. You know, this file is what? It's a JavaScript file. Now, number one thing now is that this is H1, Abi. I can, in HTML, I can do class slash or class, Abi. Class is what? Is an attribute, isn't it? Isn't it? I can do class, I can do ID, right? Isn't it? Are you with me?
Yeah.
And there is no issue, right? But there is one small issue. Class, it has meaning. It has another meaning in JavaScript. Class has its own meaning in HTML. It's a class that you are going to use to style the element, right? But this class is also a keyword in JavaScript. And the keyword is for when you want to create a class in JavaScript. So like now, in this place now, I can say class, right? I want to create a class. Class rectangle, right? It will take what is it called? This is a class now, right? And then I can now start setting the constructor of the class, set some method of the class. It will have area. Rectangle has area, Abby. Yeah. It will have perimeter, and a couple of other things like that, right? In the constructor, this class we have two. It's supposed to have two things: length and breadth, right? So I'll put L, B. So here I'll say this dot length, that's the length of the rectangle, is L, and then this dot breadth, how do you spell breadth? Breadth like this is equals to B, right? Now this is ordinary normal JavaScript, right? Here I am creating a class called rectangle. Here this is still inside the same file again. I have line 21. I have another keyword class. Now I am confusing JavaScript. Is this class and this class, are they talking about the same thing? No. This one is referring to something else, Abby, and this one is referring to something else, right? So that is where the confusion comes in. So we are confusing JavaScript, right? So that is why. So for this one now, instead of calling it class, they now put name in front of it, so that we separate, so that this one now you know that this one is the normal JavaScript keyword, right? And then this one is, so this is the only difference that make it. So you will see something like this, right, that make it different from normal HTML. So it is still normal HTML you are writing. The only difference is that what, there are some keyword in the attribute that you want to be changing. Apart from those keywords, you are okay. So let me show you some of those keywords now. JSX, right? HTML keywords, right? HTML keyword. So this introduction to JSX, right, is still your normal. So state, list, handling, rendering. So this is H1 element, right? This is an element and you're storing it inside an JavaScript stuff. I'm trying to find some of those keywords so we can look at it together. So let me list it here. No, lists and keys. Is that it? No, not it. It is not it. I'm trying to find HTML attributes. JSX attribute list. I can't find it. I can't. Okay. So here you will see some of those stuff here. So like here, why we are using class name instead of class, right? I'm trying to see, this is it. See JavaScript keywords and reserved words, right? So, so practically what we are saying is we cannot use anything that is already in JavaScript like this. So if HTML is utilizing any of these things, like class, then you have to change it in HTML. So that is, so class, you will see for. Where do we use for in normal HTML? No. In normal HTML. inside normal HTML, we use it. Is in our notes app. 4. Label and input.
Form.
No, not form. 4. 4. FOR. 4. Look at it in your open note app. Let me find notes app. Find notes app. Notes app. Look for label. Do you see? What do we use it for here? Line 18.
Titles.
You are using this one to relate to this one, line 19. So that you are saying that this label on line 18 is for that one on line 19, right? You are joining them together. So you can see now that because it is that 4, you know it has another meaning in JavaScript for loop now, right? So because this same keyword is what we use for loop, it means that when you are going to use this label something, you cannot use this 4 in what's it called, in this place, in your component, right? Do you get? So that's just the only difference that make it different from HTML, right? That the only difference that we now use to call it React, that we now call it JSX, right? So that's the fundamental one reason that we now use to call it JSX. But apart from that, it is your normal HTML. Anything you can do in HTML, you can do it here, right? So I've introduced the idea of React small. So I'm going to stop here so that I don't, because we need to